Hi everybody, it's Michael Angelo Caruso, and when I meet people who find out that I teach presentation skills, they almost always head down this rabbit hole of a discussion about how they wish they could give presentations that were perfect, how they wish their speeches were flawless, how they wish their sales talks were free of error. And I want to tell you something, perfect is boring. I'm so sold on this idea that perfect is boring that I invented a concept called purposeful humility. And the concept is that I don't know that you have to make mistakes on purpose. Most of us just make enough mistakes to be considered less than perfect. But this idea of being less than perfect is actually very, very appealing. And I want to give you 3 ways that you can use this technique to help people understand that you're human, that you're authentic, that you're natural. Sometimes I watch these videos where they have the bot reading the press release. Have you ever heard them? It's artificial intelligence or something that's allowing this bot-like voice. And the bot-like voice never stutters, never stammers, never hitches at all because it's perfect. And it is boring as hell. So if you want to be boring as hell, just keep trying to deliver the perfect presentation. I say it's better to practice this thing I call purposeful humility, and I'll give you 3 examples. The first one goes way back to the 1970s, and they're all of these examples are kind of like TV or movie inspired by the movies. This movie of the week was called Lieutenant Columbo or Columbo, and Peter Falk played this great character, this bumbling police detective who wore a rumpled raincoat, smoked an old stogie, and he would pretend to be confused. Right? He would tap his temple like this and say, help me understand, And sometimes he really was confused, or sometimes he was pretending to be confused. It didn't matter. What this did, it showed him to be human. It showed him to be maybe even feeble, right? And it worked to his advantage as he was talking to alleged perpetrators because they would relax thinking, well, this guy's dim. I can just chat him up and get away with whatever I want. And of course, Columbo would use the perpetrator's words against him or her, and eventually put the guy away at the end of the movie. So, in your talks, I can think of a sales talk, for example, where someone's explaining something technical about their company. You would have no reason to know this. You don't work at the company, and you could say, "Excuse me, help me understand. Could you say that again? Because I didn't quite get it the first time." And they would be delighted to educate you and help you. And it makes you human. You see, if you pretend to know what they're talking about, it just gets you in trouble. The conversation is less provocative and less nurturing for everybody. And nobody wins. So help me understand is a great thing to say to show that you're less than perfect. You don't know everything. The second technique I want to tell you about was inspired when I saw the movie Philadelphia, which I've seen a couple times, starring the great Tom Hanks and, at the time, Denzel Washington, who was an up-and-coming star. Washington played an attorney who was having trouble understanding this new thing, because it was new to everybody, HIV/AIDS, at the time the movie came out. And so Denzel Washington, in a way, became a protagonist for all of the people watching the movie because he was asking the same types of questions and saying the same types of things that all of us were saying in real life. How do you get this illness? How do you catch this virus? What do you mean this is what happens to the human body? What do you mean we don't have any legal precedent for this, right? Which was Washington's angle in the movie as an attorney. So he would say several times in the movie as a motif. Motif is a French word. It means that something's going to happen 2 or 3 times as a pattern, right? Denzel Washington was known in the movie for saying, explain it to me like I'm a 2-year-old. Tell me like I'm a 2-year-old. And this is, in a way, this is his version of this idea, this thing that I'm calling purposeful humility, where he's making himself as dumb as an infant, as dumb as a child, right? Explain it to me as if I'm a 2-year-old, says, I don't understand anything that you just said. Start right at the very beginning again. Now, think about this. Here's an attorney in the movie who's passed the bar. He's obviously a very intelligent man, but he still doesn't understand the nuance of the particular subject matter that you're going over right now. And of course, in the movie, the attorney's getting ready to repackage this very complicated information for a jury. right? So it's a very real life example of how you can practice purposeful humility in one of your presentations just by saying, look, explain it to me like I'm a 2-year-old. I'm not sure I get it yet. And if it's good enough for Denzel Washington, it's good enough for you, baby. The third example of purposeful humility is a story that I heard from Alan Alda, also a star of the screen, silver screen, and also the television. Alda, as you may remember, was the star of the television show MASH. He did some great movies. He was played a great part on the West Wing TV series. And he interviewed scientists for a living for about 15 years. So one time he's interviewing this scientist, and the scientist had discovered the thinnest glass ever invented by man. It was only 1 atom thick. Now you'd think this would be a big deal, and that all of the mediums, all the television mediums and news mediums the media would broadcast this and shout it out, right? It's a big deal. Thinnest glass ever invented. And yet nobody picked up the story until the guy re-released the news as the fact that he accidentally discovered the thinnest glass invented by man. Somehow, the fact that he did it by accident was more appealing to the news media. Now, just think about this and how it happened. When a scientist is working on something, a lot of times his invention is by accident, but maybe his ego gets the best of him and he doesn't really want anybody to know it was by accident, at least initially. So he just says, I invented the thinnest glass known to man. Well, that apparently is not a news cycle, worthy of a news cycle. So what he does the second time, he says, well, let me be a little bit more direct about this, a little bit more forthcoming, that it was actually an accidental discovery, right? So he shared a little bit more of what exactly happened. And this time it's more appealing on every level. Every news media reported it, and it becomes a thing. So when you can tell people that you accidentally did something, that you accidentally tripped on a theory, that you accidentally had a conversation with somebody and this thing came up, this topic came up and look what you discovered, quite by accident, you see? It's called purposeful humility. You didn't set out to find out, you just found out. And it makes what happened a more truer version of reality. And somehow it's more appealing that it happened by accident rather than by design. So these are the 3 ways that you can practice purposeful humility in your presentations. The first technique is going Columbo. The second technique is this idea of, telling me like I'm a 2-year-old. And the third is this idea that I accidentally tripped on this idea. See what you think of it, right? It'll make you more human. It'll make your presentations less perfect, which will actually make you more perfect. My name is Michael Angelo Caruso. If you like these videos, please subscribe to this channel so you can be notified when new ones are posted. And of course, more information on my blog at michaelangelocaruso.com. Talk to you soon.